The one thing, I know you were talking about the character from a bygone era. I do think the character model was actually like very distracting in not a good way, because like with the camera angles chosen, it just felt like this game seems like a game that came out in like 002 in terms of its, like character design. It's like a bit old and not flattering, I don't think, for a modern audience.
Wait a minute!
The character from a bygone era.
What the f*** are you talking about?
The character from a bygone era.
What the f*** are you talking about?
The character from a bygone era.
With all due respect, what the f*** are you talking about?
What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from the Quartering. I hope you're having a wonderful day. And apparently, if you are a Western game dev, having a wonderful day for you means plain and bland women. And if women are really attractive, that's a problem. And it's such a weird thing where this obvious double standard in video games exists that none of these galaxy brains in gaming industry seem to be aware of. The idea that men can be, I mean, we saw this so obviously with the last Mortal Kombat game, right? All the dudes are fine shirtless, which makes total sense for fighting, but the women are totally covered up because that's more logical for fighting. What? We all know exactly what this is. I think it's this concerted effort to make aggressively unattractive women around you seem better looking. I don't know. There's always been this kind of but where are her organs? But where are her organs? Or all these takes that are just baloney. We saw this with Cowboy Bebop, where they pretended that there couldn't possibly be anyone with the same or similar proportions as Faye. There couldn't possibly be anyone who could pull off the same outfit as Faye, even though there are dozens of examples online. We have this new soundbite from a clip from Digital Foundry, and it's worth discussing. I want to be, somewhat understanding here and not dunk too hard on one 40-second clip, but let's take a look. So there was a Sony PlayStation Showcase reaction. This is from Digital Foundry with 1.18 million subscribers, even bigger than me, significantly larger than me. By the way, if you're watching this video and you haven't yet subscribed, there's a red subscribe button down below the video. I'm working out my audio. Each video will have a little subtle changes to it until we arrive kind of at the buttery smoothness that I want, probably by tomorrow, but I would love if you subscribe today. Sony PlayStation Showcase reaction, Spider-Man 2, Gran Turismo 7, God of War Ragnarok, Uncharted 4, and much more. And so this video is 1 hour long, and it has 1.2 thousand downvotes to 5.6 thousand upvotes. And what's interesting is you wonder why. Why is that? Well, it's because of 40 seconds of the video. This was posted by Yogensha at YOG3NSHA. Digital Foundry, or specifically Alex, being offended by a woman being too attractive in the modern era in a Korean game is hilarious, were it not so sad. A sign of Western gaming industry's thinking. Slight cringe warning. Here's the clip.
For that. The one thing, I know you were talking about the character from a bygone era. I do think the character model was actually like very distracting in not a good way.
A beautiful woman, too distracting, and in not a good way. This is one of those, I just don't, fellas and ladies out there, help me out. I just don't understand, because marketing data as far back as like the 40s and 50s proved to us that women and men both prefer to look at attractive women and men in their marketing. And thus we know this translates to TV and through advertising. And of course it would be the same in video games. The idea that only women who are attractive are problematic is one of the dumbest positions I've ever heard. Let's let Alex continue.
Because like with the camera angles chosen, it just felt like this game seems like a game that came out in like 002 in terms of its, like character design. It's like a bit old and not flattering, I don't think, for
A beautiful woman. Essentially what he's admitting here is that modern day video game females are ugly. I mean, on purpose. Now, I wouldn't say ugly because obviously to each their own, but I will say purposely. They are designed purposely mediocre.
a modern audience in comparison to something like Forspoken, which has, yes, it has a much more realistic looking character
Realistic. That's another kind of weasel word of a lot of these people.
designs. It's not these hyper proportioned.
Hyper proportioned. What he really means is hyper spicified.
Something or another's, but it also seemed
Something or another's. Bob's.
I don't know, a bit more grounded in a way that I found much more appealing.
Now, Alex from Digital Foundry, 110% entitled to his opinion of what he finds attractive in a woman. Absolutely. Like literally different strokes for different folks. And he is simply just sharing his opinion. And I don't think it's fair to totally dunk on him for that. But I do think it's interesting to kind of understand where Western game devs are coming from and, why there's such a huge push to the East for video games. People want a hot video game character. There's nothing wrong with that. And anybody telling you that there is, just simply can't back it up. And you see, here's a perfect example. Thank you, Romley, for posting this. Here's Project Eve, the game he was complaining about. The character model is very distracting, and not in a good way. Seems like a game that came out in 2002, old and not flattering. Here's the picture. Not sure what he's talking about. Looks like a beautiful character to me. Forspoken has much more realistic looking character designs, more grounded, much more appealing from a general standpoint. Blah. Now, there's nothing inherently wrong with this particular character, but like, why does it have to be either or? You see the eternally based Melanie Mack chiming in here saying, I adore her design. Gaming for me is a fantasy and an escape. So generally speaking, the stylized and the stylized and beautiful character designs like these make a game infinitely more fun. And I agree. When I play a game, and by the way, this goes both ways for men too. You can see when I play a game, I'm not looking for some dad bod hero I can play as. I want an ultimate muscles 80 action star, like a beefcake, right? That's what guys want. And it's, again, it's like one of those things that is so conveniently overlooked that men that would rather play as like an attractive female in their games or have an attractive female protagonist that's hyper spicified or whatever, they want the same of their male characters. But for females, that's the only problem. You could see Silly here saying, I think both games have their appeal and look good in their own ways, but I don't get why he felt the need to put them up against each other when no other discourse is needed. Yeah. I mean, the early 2000s was great. Remember Shadow Hearts? Yeah. I mean, you get a lot of more stylized art. Now everything feels so bland, It just, I don't understand. I would rather have a game that reminds me of a bygone era than have some ultra realistic video contender for the game of the year made by Sony that crunched the developers to have every single cell of leaf visible. I like Digital Foundry, but this is a terrible take. If Alex didn't enjoy Eve's decision, he can go play something else. He doesn't speak for every single gamer out there. Thank you, Korean devs, for creating a character that is both attractive and kicks a lot of butt. The two are not mutually exclusive. And you see a lot of the people here. Rockstar wants to compete with Bethesda, who can milk a game the longest. That was talking about Alex's houses must be full of mirrors because he fancies reflections so much. Project Eve looks fantastic, but hey, I'm not afraid of pretty looking girls in video games. Don't trip over yourselves, rushing to show how mature you guys are over not liking Eve's art direction. This does feel like a virtue signal. And Alex, by the way, again, he's entitled to his opinion, and I don't want to send any hate his way. It was a huge story over the weekend, and I thought I wanted to cover it. You see Alex and poking the hornet's nest, of course, saying, interesting to see how many commenters are highly invested in a story and, quote, cultural reasons for the main character design in Project Eve, a game whose trailer had 3-second slow-mo crotch and rear shots in the first 24 seconds. So, I don't get it. Like, who is this for, dude? Like, so? And a lot of the male characters in non-licensed Japanese games are also spicified. The difference is what women consider attractive men is different than what men consider attractive women. Now, this is in general, right? While I prefer a sensible middle ground, I did think it was refreshing change from the usual neutral-looking characters with any hint of femininity hidden under specifically designed clothing and armor. Yeah, this meme has literally never been more correct. I mean, it's like that's exactly what this whole thing embodies. If you want plain, boring-looking characters, you have all the primary devs like Ubisoft and everyone like that to make these. And again, like, why are we always villainizing people that, look, I don't buy video games based on, whether or not the main character is attractive. I want the good game. Like, my favorite games are Dragon Quest. These are like cartoon characters, right? But it's not inherently a bad thing to have attractive characters. And this whole push to make, to be honest with you, there's undoubtedly a push for more inclusion in video game design, which is not inherently a bad thing. We have Fat Thor now, whoopie-doo. I don't know who was clamoring for that, but, it's not inherently a bad thing. But I do feel like there is an inherent push for people to make women in video games less attractive, and for no reason other than to write tweets on Twitter about how they made women less attractive. And I don't think that that's the correct motivating. That shouldn't be what's motivating your video game design. And let people like what they like. Isn't that the famous line from those that would applaud this? The big She-Ra fans and all this. Don't like it, don't watch it. Don't like it, don't play it, I suppose. I wouldn't even have heard of this game if not for this freak out. So I suppose, thank you. I guess I'll buy Project Eve now. Hope you enjoyed this video. We'll talk to you again real soon.